Spring is here, and this week's vlog is brought to you courtesy of the great outdoors, even if it means really tricky light, underexposure and overexposure all at the same time. As Elon Musk says that running a business is like eating broken glass and staring into the abyss. Well, I don't think it's that bad at all. You are going to have moments of happiness. To me, running a business is more like eating broken glass with bits of sweets in and staring into the abyss. Okay, so undoubtedly, running a business has ups and downs, just like life has ups and downs. So when do you know to keep pushing and that a down that you're experiencing is just a temporary down? And when should you say, right, this is crazy, let's go and do something else? Well, that's what we're going to look at in today's video. So we're talking about the really sunny topic of when to stick with your business and when to kill it. So when you're thinking about when to stick with your business and when to change, the first thing to note is that your brain is not thinking rationally about this. Your brain, when it's thinking about making money, is like your brain when it's on cocaine. These decisions and a lot of the thought that goes on happens in the nucleus accumbens, which is part of the brain which is responsible for pleasure, reward, motivation. And actually, your brain, when it's scanned thinking about money, is almost indistinguishable, apparently, from your brain when you're thinking about cocaine. So we're not making these decisions with a cool, calm, rational brain. We're making these decisions with a flawed, emotional brain of a coke addict. What does this actually mean? Well, it means that when you're running a business, nothing is either as good or as bad as it feels like. You're in heightened emotions. So the first thing is when you're feeling really, really down, you've got to remember it's not as bad as this. And likewise, when you're feeling really, really good, you've just had something great happen and you're on top of the world, remember, it's not as good as this. So what actually happens is we experience these crazy troughs and crazy peaks when in reality, the line is much, much flatter. So with that being said, there are obviously going to be times when as a business owner, you might be thinking, wow, I know this is hard, but is it supposed to be this hard? It wasn't this hard. What am I doing wrong? This business is rubbish. If I was doing X, I'd be so much better off because I wouldn't have clients, customers, employees, stock, whatever. If I was a consultant or employee, I'd be earning about what I'm earning now, but without having to constantly eat this broken glass. It's just as bad for everyone. Doesn't matter what their Instagram or social media says, it's just as bad for everyone who's running a business. It's not the most fun thing in the world. Truth number 2. The grass is always greener. If you're a natural optimist, which you probably have to be if you started a business, you're going to be understandably looking for the good things in alternative options. So just remember that just because it looks amazing to you in your naturally optimistic state when you're on the outside, once you're actually in that position running that other business that you're dreaming of, you'd probably have the same sorts of problems that you're having now. Home truth number 3, there is no easy or better way to run a business. And in fact, many of the ways that are sold to be the easiest are actually the hardest ways to make a business work. Whatever business model you use, there are going to be benefits and there are going to be drawbacks. Lots of people get sucked into drop shipping. Wow, I could sell stuff from my website. I wouldn't have to worry about all of the orders. I wouldn't have to worry about fulfillment. Yeah, but low margins. Oh, maybe I should be in the product business. Then I could sell my own product and I'd have a better margin. Product development costs, warehousing costs. Yeah, so if I sold a service, I wouldn't have to have product development costs and warehousing costs. I would just have a team of people and we'd have really high margins because we wouldn't be buying in stock. High employee count, clients. Yeah, so maybe I'll sell a software product because then we won't have to have so many employees and then we won't have clients. High software, high marketing costs. Yeah, so maybe if we don't actually build our own software, if we just sell someone else's software, then that'd be awesome. We wouldn't have any of those problems. Then you're back to a dropshipping business. So there's really no significantly better company or better model than any others, right? Everyone else's businesses have strengths, everybody else's businesses have weaknesses. So quit trying to find the perfect business. But at the same time, let's not pretend that some businesses aren't better than other businesses. Nothing. I have the worst sense of smell in the world. Not every business can succeed in its current form, and we're often sent companies or websites that are selling things that nobody wants to an audience that doesn't exist. A bad idea or bad execution or both will seriously limit your business's ability to succeed. So here are the questions I would suggest asking to identify if the thing that you're doing right now is the right thing to be doing, and also the questions that you can use to identify and assess new opportunities that you're considering going into. So the first set of questions are must-haves. Without this, you really don't have a business. The first question is, are we selling something that people actually want? Yes, that's right, want, not need. They have to want it. It's really, really difficult to sell something that people don't want. As stupid as that sounds, there are businesses that we're sent to review every day that are selling things that people don't want. And if you're trying to sell something to somebody and they don't even want it, that's really tough. It's tough enough trying to sell something to somebody who actually wants it. So trying to force people beyond that is really tricky. Do they want this thing enough that they're actually willing to pay for it? So if you're competing against businesses that are solving the same problem as you, but they're giving their stuff away free, you're in trouble, because it would indicate that people don't want the solution enough that they're willing to pay for it. Well, you can overcome a lot of things with good marketing, but overcoming competition, which is offering their solution free, well, that's really tricky. And if your audience is willing to pay for it, are they willing to pay enough that you can generate the profit that you want from your business? So if you've answered no to any of those questions, then to me that would indicate a real issue with the kind of fundamentals of your business. And either it's a case of looking for a new audience or a new product, or just completely changing business altogether. As brutal as that sounds. So the next set of questions are key considerations. These aren't must-haves, but if you have these things, then life gets a lot easier. So first key consideration is, do we know exactly what problem we're solving, and do we know exactly the sort of person that we're solving it for? This is almost always how I would start a business, by identifying a particular problem amongst a particular group of people and figuring out what's the perfect solution or closest to perfect solution for that group. If you do that and the problem is painful enough and they're willing to spend money on the solution, you really can't go too far wrong. The next key consideration is, are we offering something significantly better to these people than what's out there already? If you're offering the same thing as everybody else, but all of your competitors are more established, what right do you have to go into a market? What right do you have to take money from competitors just because you've decided that you need to go into business in that space? So you have to have something, this is what people call value, right? You have to have something of value to bring to the marketplace in order to justify making a product. That's how capitalism works. You get rewarded in proportion to the value that you create for others. So if you're going into a market without offering significantly more value than others already offering that market, what's the point of you even existing? And final key consideration is, with tech and trends, is this a space? Is this the solution that's going to become more important or less important to your audience? So there are some businesses which exist purely to buck trends. For example, people selling vinyl records and vinyl record players, right? Well, tech trends would say that that is dead and that it's not coming back, but they've kind of purposely bucked that. Nevertheless, that is not typically a business that I would really want to go in, because over the longer term, that's not going to exist, right? They've attached themselves to something which is obsolete and becoming more and more and more obsolete, and that's how they're making their business. So if you feel particularly passionate about that solution and you want to go into that space, cool, but it's not necessarily something that I would want to go in. I'd want to go in something where the trends are showing that this is going to be more and more and more popular, and I'm not going to have to fight that stigmatism the whole time, right? If you're selling vinyl record players, the question that you're going to get whenever you enter a shop to pitch them on your product is, yeah, but vinyl, really? And you're going to have to spend your entire life battling that objection. There's no need, there are millions of businesses that you could go after, so maybe do something where you're not going to have to fight constantly the trends and where technology is going. The final category of questions are the resistance melters. Okay, so with these, if you can say yes to these, then you have a much bigger chance of going big and becoming a sustainable business. So the first question would be, do we know at least one profitable way to get in front of our identified target customer? This is about marketing, and this is about how to understand and identify the marketing that you're going to need to succeed. The second question is, do we have at least one way to sell to this person profitably? So do you have a sales process that makes sense and that your audience likes? If you do, and you can sell to people profitably, that means you have the cash flow. That means you can continue growing the business without having to seek outside investment. The next question is, if you hit all of your growth goals, what does the company look like, and would you still sign up for that job? If you're really passionate about something and you're starting a small business to do that thing, you've got to be aware that when the company grows, you're not going to be doing that thing, or if you are doing that thing, you're really going to be limiting the growth of the company. So if you're starting a business to do a particular thing, you've got to be careful, and you've got to understand that actually that's going to really limit the size of the business if you always want to be doing that thing. So after all those questions, by now you're probably either feeling really good about your business, and if so, great, keep going, it looks like you've got something viable, or if you're feeling really bad about your business and you're thinking, well, actually I couldn't really answer yes to many of those questions. Now if you're feeling bad, it might be worth looking at something where you can answer those questions more positively. Be careful that you're not falling foul of the grass is always greener, and answering the questions naively from the perspective of having a new business which you imagine to be completely perfect, because when you start that business, the reality is going to hit you pretty quickly that there are just as many issues in the new business as the old business. Having said all of this, of course, you are the only person that will know whether your business is something that you can continue running. What feels like the end of the road, and we've had multiple points throughout the years of Exposure Ninja where I've thought, wow, do you know what, I could be earning a lot more money as just a consultant and I wouldn't have any of these headaches. But pushing through each of those has taken us to another level, and it's been worth it so far. Now, of course, nothing to say that, a challenge that comes up in future isn't going to be not worth it. Now, if Google shut down tomorrow, obviously our lives would be pretty tricky and we'd have to make some decisions about that. But when you're in the moment and feeling really rough about something, you have no way of knowing at that point whether this is you're banging your head through a wall because that wall is concrete, or whether it's you're banging your head through the wall and you're just about to get through, right? You've got no way of knowing in that moment. So hopefully those questions help you see things from a colder and more rational perspective, not with the cocaine brain that we all tend to go into these types of decisions with, but hopefully that's given you kind of rational perspective to judge your current business, and if you're thinking about moving into something else, judge that with a bit more of a critical eye than your kind of naturally optimistic view might be, looking at that thing and imagining a life of roses and pure happiness bounding over the hills forevermore, being showered down in money. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? How well do you think your business stacks up against those criteria? If you could do anything starting from scratch, what would you be doing and why? By the way, I've got an amazing idea for a business which I really, really want somebody to run. It's not going to be me because I'm doing Exposure Ninja, but I really want someone to run it. Okay, here's the idea. So, car washes. At the moment, when you drive to a car wash, you've got to sit there for half an hour while you're in a queue. It's really annoying. There's nothing to do while you're doing it. You've got to do it at the same time that everyone else does it. So there's always like loads and loads of people there. Complete nightmare, total waste of time. What about if instead you subscribed to a mobile car wash that came to your house, washed your car outside, they charge you £10 every 2 weeks. They come and wash your car every 2 weeks. You could have it more often if you wanted. Great business. It's a subscription model for one. The vans that the window cleaners use to come and clean the windows, they've already got all the water tanks and everything in, and the hoses and stuff with water pressure. So we could take those vans and use them, turn it into a franchise model where local franchisees could franchise, buy a franchise, you kit out the van, you have all the branding, the nationwide marketing, you take care of all the payments, and then you pay them locally to do it, whatever. Other ways that it's absolutely killer, there's loads of upsell opportunities. So when they're cleaning the car, they can check your wheels. Oh, you need some tyre tread on your thingy. Do you want us to replace your tyres next time? Whatever, we've checked on the database, you need an MOT soon, do you want us to just take that and do it? So then it becomes a whole kind of car maintenance subscription. It's absolutely killer. Why does no one do it? The only downside I can see, and this is how I kind of look at the opportunities, what happens when self-driving cars become the norm and cars are no longer parked on streets outside your house. They're going to be going off to some some remote car park. So would the business model survive that shift? Because what you don't want to do is spend 5 or 10 years building something incredible only for there to be a massive kind of macro shift in the space which just makes your business completely obsolete. So be careful with that, but otherwise go and take that idea, turn it into a $1 billion business, and remember Exposure Ninja for your digital marketing needs.